Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Andre Seekers and Ash Paulson, and we're back for part 2 of our Smash Bros. Wii U stage discussion. So let's get to it and pick up where we left off. Next up we have, going alphabetically, Miiverse, which is actually stage nobody's played yet. It's not even ready yet because it's DLC.
Well, it's Battlefield with messages.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yay messages? I mean, if you interested in this stage at all?
I actually am. I think it's actually a really cool idea, to be honest. I mean, from a design standpoint, it's very basic, but that's okay. You know, you can have a couple of basic stages in there. But I really do like the idea of having Miiverse messages pop up in real time. And from what they've said, it sounds like the messages will mostly be related to the fighters you're using in the current match. So I think it's kind of a cool idea. You know, I do wonder how they'll moderate it, because I have seen as Miiverse kind of, gets older and older, I have seen that Nintendo's getting a little more lax with their moderation in terms of content. So I do kind of wonder what kind of content we'll see pop up during, Smash matches in this stage.
Oh, I have a feeling it'll be super curated.
Think so for Smash?
So I definitely think so. I don't think they want things appearing in the game that would be offensive. I think I like the idea of it better than I will in practice. Because otherwise, without the messages, it's a pretty boring stage. It has a super generic look of like Picto Chat, for instance. With something, it's just something that doesn't visually appeal to me. And when you're playing, you're not going to be reading the messages in the background anyway, or even have much of a chance to look at them. I like it. I mean, I don't mind the fact that it exists. I mean, it's cool. It's another stage, but it doesn't play, as far as we can tell, any differently than Battlefield. I'd probably just rather play on Battlefield because it looks cooler. Yeah. So, it'd be cool if the messages interacted with you in some way. Like maybe they flew in and some of them acted as platforms.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest the same thing. I think that's the only way you could make this a little bit more interesting than just a Battlefield clone with some messages in the background, is that the messages will actually come across and you can jump on the top and ride them across, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I guess my biggest problem is it's not using Miiverse in a particularly creative way. It's just another way of displaying things you can already access in another way. What if they had an option in the game where you could actually draw, or what if you could take the drawings from Miiverse, for instance, and make them actual hazards that flew in? If someone drew a picture of Pac-Man, then you could fly in, it was an actual hazard instead of just being a drawing.
That seems like it would take a monumental amount of, I don't even know how that would actually be possible, to be honest, to compute what kinds of messages could be used as potential hazards and how they could be used as hazards and on the fly like that. I don't know if that's actually that realistic, but I do think it would be really cool if it could happen. So basically what you're saying, Andre, is that because it's a Battlefield clone, we're going to get Big Miiverse along with it.
Probably, right.
Alright, next up we got the Kalos Pokemon League, which we finally have some information about. My god, it took forever. And honestly, it looks really cool. I really like the look of it, but you actually got to play it, Andre. What'd you think?
I played it, and I really don't remember that much about it, actually.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. It's something I need to play more of, too. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool, I guess.
I haven't gotten to try this stage yet, but I love the look of it. I've loved the look of it ever since they originally kind of revealed it in a screenshot or a pick of the day. I think it's a really beautiful looking stage, and I love the water version because Wailord's just chilling there in the back, and he's 16 times bigger than any other Pokemon, and he just looks so out of place, and it's really funny.
I love how they're using the different elements, like the sort of water slide thing that comes in for the water stage, the fire pillars, which I assume you can get burnt on on the platform, underneath the platforms, for that section. Not the swords coming down for the steel section. There's some really cool stuff going on here. And just having the Pokemon in the background, it sort of fits into the whole motif with most Pokemon stages, transforming as the matches go along. And I think it is a really beautiful looking stage.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, moving on. We got Orbital Gate, which we finally got a much more complete look of how the stage will work. Plus, Andre, of course, got to play it, as always. So, it looks like a much more dynamic Lilac Cruise if I had to compare it to anything, but is that the feeling you got, Andre, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty dynamic stage, and in this case, unlike Lilac Cruise, that dynamicness actually matters. Lilac Cruise looked awesome in the background, but other than that, it was a pretty basic stage, one which I quite liked. And this stage is, I enjoy playing on it, because you start off on the Gray Fox, and you move to the Missile, before eventually hopping onto the R-Wings, before cycling back onto a Missile. So I liked how much was going on, and on the Gray Fox too, I checked that you were able to hop onto the back of it too, even though it's a very small area. So there's a lot going on here, and visually it looks very, very impressive too. Yeah, and that's actually something we've seen a lot in the game, where like there's a lot of the stages are very dynamic now. A lot of things are changing, and this stage does it very well. So yeah, I mean, I definitely want to play more of it.
Yeah, me too. I haven't had a chance yet, but this is one of the stages I'm most excited about. I just like that Star Fox is getting a new stage because it's been a pretty dormant series other than Star Fox 64 3D, and it's really a gorgeous looking stage. I kind of sound like a broken record at this point. This stage looks beautiful. This stage looks gorgeous, but it really does. And I love how the missile looks when it hits the gate. It looks really intense, and it kind of feels. It looks like it feels like a roller coaster ride, and that's kind of the sense I get from you, Andre. So I'm looking forward to really getting a chance to play it for myself.
Yeah, it looks like a stage in the same vein of like Big Blue or Poke Floats, where you're constantly moving and things change up. But it's weird because the dynamic of the viewpoints that you get has changed. Like usually with these type of stages, it's staged to the side at all times. But now we got the Great Fox from the side, the missile from the side, then we got the R-wings from behind, and then we gradually go back in. So that it makes it again seem more dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the R-wing portion, because you're flying with several different R-wings, and all of them are moving around and tilting back and forth. So I see that portion of the level especially is like super dynamic and feels very different, I would say, than the rest even.
Moving on, we have a stage that nobody knew anything about, and is honestly looking really good. Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, when I was at the event, we were so busy covering the direct, I missed that completely in the footage. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know about the stage before I played it at the event. And that was the first stage I played, and I liked it a lot. It was really fun. It incorporates elements of Luigi's Mansion with the whole building be able to collapse. Except in this case, it causes the floor above to drop down. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a really fun stage. I really liked it, and I love the fact that they're bringing back. It's one of their older franchises, one that's barely had any representation since. It is neat to see it here in Smash.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a neat, random retro inclusion. I do like that they've built climbing animations for each character simply for this stage.
Palutena's Temple has it too.
Oh, then there you go. Then I did not know that. Then for this stage in Palutena's Temple.
Oh, and 75 meter.
Oh well, see now you're just making me sound bad. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, but it seems like the stage isn't too intrusive hazard-wise because the floors falling on top of you and the exploding barrels don't actually seem to damage you.
Well, it looks like from Derek's analysis, you actually can get trapped in the barrels.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, the floor doesn't hurt you. And I went through my footage, and as far as I can tell, no one actually got hit by a barrel. So they aren't huge hazards.
That's good.
Yeah, which is good. So it's not too intrusive.
Yeah, it looks like a fun stage, and I've seen some complaints online about how the backdrop, the cityscape backdrop, looks a little bland, but it doesn't really seem that way to me.
Yeah, it's something I only noticed looking back at the footage. It's something I didn't notice in person. I don't think it's a problem, but I guess I can see why people would say that, but it looked fine in motion.
No, I noticed that as well when looking at the background. It's like how kind of bland it was. Like everything's sort of gray. There's no colors in the background. It's very standard. Like the only color you really get in the stage is the green between the levels. Yet I kind of like how this stage looks because it is a true update to Wrecking Crew. Mm-hmm. It follows closely to how that game looked back in the NES, and it's not using 8-bit graphics in order to get that same sort of thing across, like you saw in Balloon Fight on the 3DS. No, it's kind of like 75 meters, where the only sprite-based stuff is Donkey Kong himself. And I don't know, I just really like the look of it. I like the idea behind it, where it's just a constantly falling building, and it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Next up, we got yet another traveling stage, Woohoo Island.
Yeah, Woohoo Island.
Woohoo! So was it Woohoo?
It was definitely a woo. I don't know about who.
Oh, okay.
So I actually quite like this stage. I know some people have issues with the fact that it's basically a clone stage. I don't know, it doesn't bother me that much. It plays differently than Pilotwings, where it serves as just more of a backdrop. Whereas here, you actually land at different parts of it. And those different parts all feel very different from one another. Like, one part you land on, the ocean, basically. There's some platforms there, and you can actually drop into the water, and you can swim, which I was really happy to see was back. But I really like the mechanic in Brawl, and the fact that it's back here is neat, especially because it actually makes the stage feel pretty different. And then there's, another part of the level where you're, on the cliff. And it spans most of the screen, except for the right side, where there's just, a huge drop-off. And that too felt very different from any other stage in the game. And I also like the details in the background. Like when you land on the beach, you can see like Mii's back there throwing a frisbee at the dogs from Wii Sports Resort, and then you can also see the power skiers when you're on the ocean. It's just a really neat, visually impressive stage.
So yeah, I feel the same way. Traveling stages tend to be kind of some of my favorite because they're so visually dynamic. There's something always happening, and Woohoo Island kind of combines that with this really bright and beautiful color palette. And I really love that about it. And it doesn't really feel like a clone, like you said, Andre, because it's, Pilot Wings is so different gameplay-wise that I'm fine with this. And swimming's back, like you said, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm actually really excited about this stage. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Yeah, same here, because I don't mind the idea of getting two stages out of one setting. Because, as you said, they play differently, so I don't see the problem there at all. We're getting a much closer view of Woohoo Island. It almost kind of is a nice callback to, actual Woohoo Island, where all this different stuff happened around this thing, and you get to see this island and the surrounding area, which, hey, what do you know, SNES Pilot Wings is just offshore. So that's really cool. And I love to see all the Miis in the background, and I love how they have both Miis. They have the Miis with the actual limbs, and they have the limbless Miis that you saw a lot in the original Wii Sports. So it's just a lot of really cool callbacks to all of them. You can see them in the background. It feels like a living, breathing place almost, which is something you don't really get a lot of when it comes to Smash Brothers stages.
Yeah, you don't. I do agree there. It definitely does feel like a lived-in place. I mean, partially because you actually do see people in the background doing stuff, which is really cool.
All right, moving on, we got Gower Plain, which is in the 3DS version, but it's a lot different here, it seems, as well, simply by the fact that there's a lot more platforms underneath the two main ones, and of course, Metal Face shows up. Now, I don't think you actually got the chance to try this one out, did you, Andre?
No, I did not.
So all we've seen so far is a couple other footage that people got as well, but it seems like Metal Face shows up in the middle and sort of, I've heard he kind of like brings the stage together. Like there's this centerpiece now to the stage, where before it was just two separate islands on the either side with this wide open area in the middle, and he sort of enters in from the top, starts attacking, and then actually slowly makes his way down to the lower platforms where there's less room to really move around in. So he does become more dangerous as the thing goes on. And of course, you get another point for him for taking him out, as well as I think anybody caught below him, because he sort of explodes and falls down the middle. So I assume if anybody got below him as he was falling down, they would get taken out as well. So it definitely makes Gower Plain a little bit more dynamic than it was before.
I think it's kind of what the stage needs, actually. I'm not a huge fan of boss characters, but I might be in this case, because Gower Plains I thought was a pretty terrible level on the 3DS version.
Yeah.
So I think it might actually make it a lot better here.
Well, and it also seems to help that Gower Plain on the Wii version is bigger in general, so there's more room, to maneuver on either side before walking off the stage. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's going to help, and yeah, having Metal Face kind of, be the centerpiece of the stage and kind of bridge the two sides together, I think is a smart move, and I have no doubt that the Wii version of Gower Plain is just going to be more fun than the 3DS version.
Alright, then we got probably the most surprising level in the whole thing. Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, wow.
This is, it's surprising for a couple reasons. Actually, just one, really. I lied. This is like the first time Smash Brothers has ever had a game or a stage based on a game that's not out yet. Mm-hmm. But they've always, I've complained before that it always lags a couple years behind, typically, where, you're reliving past experiences from, quite often years in the past. So it's cool to finally get a stage from the future. And it looks awesome. I love what they're doing here. How the ground depresses beneath your feet, and how, the whole visual appearance of the level, how it looks just like it was ripped from that game.
Oh, no, I agree. We were all really surprised it's in the game. And it kind of makes me wonder if this also hints kind of indirectly at just how troubled a development period Yoshi's Woolly World has had. Because I'm kind of wondering if Sakurai maybe thought the game would be out by now.
Ooh. That's a good point, but I forget exactly, but I do think the final game does look a fair amount different than the original screenshots. Or maybe it doesn't.
I'm not saying...
It really does.
Yeah.
From what I played of it at E3, Yoshi's Woolly World is really cool, don't get me wrong, but I'm just wondering if maybe Sakurai thought, during development that this game was going to be out before Smash, and here it's not, and it's not going to be out till next year. Either way, the stage looks really cool, and I'm really excited about playing it. I love how it changes, how it lifts up into the sky, and it kind of, the hazards become different. And even on the ground level, it seems like it's a fairly big stage, so walk-offs aren't really a problem in terms of it feeling too small. So, yeah, I really like the look of the stage. I'm really happy it's in, and I don't think really anyone expected it.
No, I know I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we were all talking about how it would be really cool if they did a Kirby's Epic Yarn stage. And we essentially got that with this.
Right.
It works so well, and I think the level looks brilliant. Like this whole yarn string theme just works so well from a visual standpoint. It's great to see it here, and it is very surprising to have such a new unreleased game on here. But it's also not the only case of that, as we've mentioned a couple times with some of these stages. Mario Kart's very recent. Sonic Lost World, relatively recent. It is kind of cool, and I think Garden of Hope also is kind of recent. So it looks like they are trying to pull in from their more modern games this time around. And
yeah, we've actually got a lot of contemporary titles in this.
So that's all for the new stages. However, there's a ton of returning stages for the game as well, but we're not going to go over those individually because, well, we've played them all before. So, just on a basic sense of all these new stages coming back, what's your guys' general impressions of the ones we got?
So, I have 3 things I want to touch on real quick. 1, Luigi's Mansion coming back is awesome. I'm so happy about that. 2, 75 meter is going to make perfect sense now with 8-player Smash. I don't think there's any other level better built for it originally than this. And then 3, Congo Jungle. I'm so glad it's back. But I actually really did like that stage in the original Smash 64. And I can only hope there's even more stages returning from that game.
I echo you there, Andre, in terms of hoping more 64 stages come back. Unfortunately, Congo Jungle isn't one of my favorite stages from that game. I would much rather see Saffron City or Hyrule Castle. But I do hope that this makes that even a possibility, because having Smash 64 stages come back at all is awesome. And yeah, I just hope we get more than just Congo Jungle. But my guess is that we might get Dreamland, and that's it. But yeah, in terms of the other returning stages, I'm pretty happy with most of them. A few, not so happy with. I never really liked Norfair. I never really liked, Mario Circuit, the original one. But a lot of them I really like Bridge of Elden is a lot of fun, and Onett is super cool. Delfino Square is one of my favorite stages in Brawl. So it's definitely, I think I am happy with the vast majority of the returning stages. There are a few I'm not so happy with. The main glaring thing for me, the lack for me, is Pirate Ship. I really wanted to see a pirate ship done in the style of Wind Waker HD, and it may still be in the game. We don't know. We don't know all the unlocks yet, but it's looking kind of like it's not going to be in the game, which is a huge disappointment for me.
Mario Circuit, like you guys, Mario Circuit was never a big stage for me that I enjoyed. It never bothered me that much, but it just wasn't that exciting. Skyworld, I'm really not exactly excited about that coming back. That's always was a pain of a stage in my mind. And we talked about before how Smashville coming back seems like kind of a waste because Town and City is so similar. I totally agree with you guys. Congo Jungle's back. I remember that being one of my... I did really enjoy that stage on Smash 64. The barrel going at the bottom that would sometimes save you.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It was nice. It was a really fun time. Pokemon Stadium 2 coming back is also really cool. I was also a big fan of Bridgeville and Delfino Plaza. There's some really great stages here. I really think the only 2 weak choices out of this whole lineup, or the only 3, is Smashville, Skyworld, and Mario Circuit. What surprised me most about these returning stages, though, is that Yoshi's Island is getting 8-player Smash support.
Huh.
That does not seem like a big enough stage for that.
No, I actually do agree with that. It sometimes felt a little bit cramped with 4 even, so I am surprised that that's one of the exceptions.
I was never that crazy about that stage to begin with, but I do not want to play that with 8 players. That does not seem like it would be fun at all.
It'd be chaos, which can be fun at times.
One thing I have noticed, and some people on the internet have noticed, is that 75M has actually been changed for the better, in my opinion. Eliminating the walk-offs. Not that I really have a problem with walk-offs, but the stage does seem better without them. So it does look like this stage is actually going to be fun to play on this time around. Whereas in Brawl, it really was one of my least favorite stages.
So you're saying the whole right edge no longer bumps up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that making a lot of sense, especially because the battle, for me at least, often would congregate on the platform in the middle right there.
Congregate?
Oh! How did I miss that?
I don't know, but I'm glad I caught it.
You're off your game. No, it's weird. The same thing always happened with me too. That one platform was always like the best place to fight.
Yeah, it was.
moving on from with this retro stages, looking at the stage roster, it is a little strange that the only Mother and F-Zero stages we have are returning. We have Onett and we have Port Town Aerodive, which is they're both cool stages. Love them both, but I really, really am hoping in this case that Magic Hint and Mute City Super NES are going to be shared stages from the 3DS version, because those two are pretty much my favorite stages in that game, maybe along with like Rainbow Road. And to have them in HD and the Wii U version would be so cool.
Oh yeah, I agree with both of those. I mean, Magic Hand looks. I mean, already looks great on the 3DS. It would look amazing on the Wii U.
Oh man, it really would. And I mean, even with the Flying Man, you can play the Omega version, and it still looks great and has the awesome music.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed the SNES F-Zero. I'd kind of like to see another stage get interpreted for F-Zero and see what they can do with that.
Well, I'm actually surprised they have multiple versions in the 3DS one, because it seems like such an easy course or such an easy level to do that with.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It seems like it could be one of those random things where you get, like the Tortimore Island has random layout. So you could get Big Blue sometimes, or something. Yeah, Sand Ocean. Yeah, that actually does seem like it would be fairly easy to implement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess for me, another disappointing return actually is Pokemon Stadium 2. I never liked that one. I liked Pokemon Stadium 1. Pokemon Stadium 2, I don't know, it just didn't feel as good to me for battling. Especially because I think some of them were just really annoying, like the treadmill one or the wind one.
Yeah, I actually wonder if maybe both Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 will return, just because Pokemon Stadium 1 isn't in the 3DS version, so it seems possible. And also considering the fact that Pokemon is currently Nintendo's biggest series, it seems likely that it would get more than 2 stages. In the Wii U version.
Well, it has a ton of representation, so it would make sense to give it a lot more stages than most other games. So, because right now they only have 2, so I could definitely see at least one more in here.
And another thing I find strange is that Zelda only has one new stage, which for Zelda being such a an iconic Nintendo franchise, you'd think it would have more than one new stage.
I mean, that's why. I mean, it makes me wonder, like, how many stages do we not know about? Yeah, so we know at least of 2 stages that have been officially announced. So I do wonder, if there could be even more, because we do know Nintendo was pretty uptight about the previous stuff with what we could cover, and how we couldn't cover anything that was unlocked. Basically, now I don't think anyone even got to the point where we can unlock some of that stuff, assuming there is more than what we know about.
I think there is. I mean, it doesn't seem like they would show off every stage in the in the Smash Brothers Direct. So I do think there's at least a few more stages to unlock beyond what we've seen. Even beyond Congo Jungle and the most unlocked stage select screen we've seen. I think there's still a little more.
I think so too.
Because even that didn't include Pac-Land. So
yeah.
I think we'll at least get a few more returning stages. I think we have 45 confirmed stages so far. So my guess is that we're gonna top out at around 50, 51. Although I have seen speculation online that the current stage select screen doesn't seem to have room for more than 2 more stages without shrinking the icons. So we might only have 2 more. Who knows?
I've seen Nintendo shrink icons before, though. We've seen them do it with the character select screen in 3DS version. We saw them do it with the DLC for Hyrule Warriors. So it's not another question for them to shrink it. And I think we could see quite a bit more stages. Maybe up to the range of 55, because there were quite a few stages in the 3DS version that we had no clue about up until its release, or early release, accidental early release. So I don't know. I think we can still see quite a bit more, and I hope that's the case, because I'm loving what we're getting so far.
Yeah, I hope so. Same here.
So before we wrap this up, are there any stages that you guys would still like to see?
Yes. When I was watching the Direct again, but I wasn't able to fully pay attention the first time. At one point, they played the Nintendo Land theme, and I can't help but wonder if that's a hint, because I would love to see a Nintendo Land stage. I think, especially after seeing like Yoshi's Woolly World and seeing what they were able to do with that visual style, like Nintendo Land also had a very distinct appearance to it. I think it'd be really cool to go from franchise to franchise with this unique art style, and I'm sure they could come up with some gameplay to complement each area too. And if only also because I just really want to hear that music in the stage. But I love that music, so a Nintendo Land stage would be awesome.
I agree, and along similar lines, I know we mentioned Tropical Freeze earlier, which I know we all want, but along similar lines to what you said, I would like to see an NES remix stage, just with all sorts of 8-bit craziness going on in the background in terms of various characters popping up and fun chip music. I think it'd be a really cool stage.
Oh, I actually really like that idea. Like, it could basically be what we thought Kirby's Dream Land might be on the 3DS.
Yeah, exactly, kind of like that. And I mean, even a stage based on the title screen for both NES remixes would be super fun because you'd have all these 8-bit characters kind of jumping in and out of the bottom of the screen. I think it'd be really cool looking.
My love always goes back to Duck Hunt.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, here's my basic idea for it: is that it just starts out on the static screen that Duck Hunt is always based out of. You know, that everybody knows. But it then starts traveling to the right, and it actually gradually becomes Hogan's Alley, which is another favorite of mine. And we know Hogan's Alley shows up in the in his Final Smash. So maybe then you have to dodge like light gun shots, as we were seeing from that screen. So you're actually going through Hogan's Alley, dodging the light gun shooting at you.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Like if a targeting reticle appeared on the screen, you had to get out of the way before it took a shot or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd have the civilians show up, and you have the actual gangsters show up. It'd be really cool, which is a nice callback because I played the heck out of both Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley as a kid. I never played the one that his other
Wild Gunman.
I never played that one, but so they could even work in that as well into the stage. Just because that gets represented, but something related to Duck Hunt in the light gun really feels like it should be in here, and I hope it is.
I agree. No, that's actually a really good point, especially with Duck Hunt being in the game. It seemed like there should be a light gun themed stage or a Zapper themed stage. Really, the only other thing I have to add is I kind of touched on this earlier with the lack of pirate ships so far, but it just seems like there should be a Wind Waker HD stage. It really does feel like a huge hole in the stage roster to me. I'm a huge Wind Waker fan. Other people might not care.
Oh, I care.
You know, oh yeah, I mean, I know. Obviously, some other people do, but like Dragon Roost Island or the Forest Haven or the Forbidden Fortress. There's so many iconic locations from Wind Waker, and it has such a unique visual style that looks amazing on the Wii U. It seems like such a wasted opportunity not to have a Wind Waker HD stage.
Well, that's a good one. We've seen that they are updating some of these classic stages to fit in better with the new roster. And I wonder if they brought back that stage, if they would update it to look more like Wind Waker HD, because I think that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, I would take Pirate Ship just updated to look, like Wind Waker HD does. I think that would be awesome, but the lack of any Wind Waker stage content in this game is a huge hole for me in the stage roster.
Yeah, and when they brought it back, I don't think they would, because they haven't for any other stage, but I would love if they went a step further and actually added a few more locations for you to go to in the game.
Yeah.
But that was my only complaint about the stage originally. Like, I think there were only 4 locations, and you saw them all pretty quickly. I would love if there to be even more that you visit. Or even just go past in the background, like Dragon Roost Island, as you mentioned, or something.
Yeah.
That'd
be, or pull up to this dock of Windfall Island.
I mean, or you can even have slap Outset Island in there and have you fight in the beach and call it a day. I mean, something from Wind Waker, just to get that art style in the game, because it's so vivid and bright and colorful, and it really does feel like there's something missing without it, in my opinion.
Alright guys, well I think that about covers it for all of our ideas on the current stages, the returning stages, and possible new stages for Smash Bros. Wii U. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Smash and other things gaming too. Until next time guys, bye.